You can't repeal Obamacare without having some alternative to that. Now, the House has offered a number and they've been rejected. Where are we on that?
Well, where we are is we still have the bills like the across state line purchase order, that included in a number of the replacement bills that we have. The Supreme Court heard the arguments against Obamacare on March 6th, and we will have a decision from them on mid-June, and that relates to how they utilize the subsidies. And I actually got this letter from Secretary Burwell, which was really sort of amazing, where she pretty much says, you know, the insurance is too expensive to afford unless people are getting a subsidy. And with the cross-state line purchase of health insurance, what you'll have is, because of competition and price coming down, CBO's estimate was you'd have 12 million people extra in the insurance marketplace with the across-state line purchase model. And the thing that's so interesting about that, you've got about 10 million people now that are in the Obamacare model, and they estimate that if you've had Obamacare for another 10 years, you're still going to have 30 million people without health insurance. So our rate reduces that number by at least a third. So we're continuing to push that forward. Yeah. Okay, somebody else has got to have a question. Got a question for me? Anything you want to say?
What about the EPA and the waters of the U.S.?
Oh, EPA. They admit to us that they don't do cost-benefit analysis because they're focused on getting an outcome. So, and we started our morning at a manufacturing facility over in Lexington. And EPA is one of their main concerns. When the specific, and that's all the manufacturing component, the waters of the U.S. provision she's mentioning relates to agriculture and private property. And I mean, what they want to do is go in and classify every puddle as a waterway and then protect it. So, you know, I don't know about you, but right now I'm sick of puddles, I'm sick of ice, I'm sick of cold weather, I'm sick of puddles, and we probably need us a little global warming. Everywhere we go, we're stepping in puddles that are out there, but they would classify them all. So that's something that in a Republican-controlled House and Senate, it's not going to get through. And if they try to do it through the rules, which they do, it's something that we'll pull back. You know, we've had a provision in the House. We hope the Senate joins us in this. If something is more than $100 million cost to the economy, it has to come back for legislative action. They can't handle something like that through the rules.
The XL pipeline, comment on that. I know that bill's been vetoed. What's next on that?
I think what you'll do is see it come back. It'll probably come back in an election year.
To wait a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think they'll probably move forward with the components that they can so far and then look to finish it out. Canada wants it. All the governors and elected leaders in the entire affected area want it. Bipartisan support. The unions are for this. The Teamsters support it. 40,000 jobs tied up with this project, and the president does not want to okay the project. Plus, the other thing, talking about the budget and trying to get our debt down, look at who owns our debt.
Right.
And OPEC is now in the top 5 of owners on our debt. They'll be sometimes number 3 or number 5, depending on the month and how much they bought. Why in the world do we want to be buying crude or finished product from them and bringing it here when we should be drilling here and utilizing our resources that God has given us? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense at all. None. So, I think you'll see that come back, and maybe it's time to play a little hardball with the Keystone Pipeline. And there is a tremendous amount of bipartisan support for it.
What about the Transportation Trust Fund? Is there any?
You know, we were just talking about this when I was at lunch, and I think you'll see us get something done. Where we need to go first is to get rid of those offset dollars, enhancement dollars, and put those back into general use. And the enhancement dollars used to be, it was about 10% of the trust fund. It was for bike paths and walking trails and passive parks and things of that nature. And it has no business being in the Transportation Trust Fund in the first place. And when I first went to Congress, I'd been on Transportation Committee at the state, and I had an amendment during the appropriations process to remove the enhancements and put it back into the general use fund. I think I probably got 50 votes for my amendment. You know, people didn't want it. But now, those enhancements are up over 25% of that budget. And, you know, you've got the Aquatics Trust Fund and Transportation Trust Fund. Everybody's moving money around. And it's just time for that to stop. I think that backfilling that trust fund, if you stop the enhancements, if Selmer wants a passive park or a bike trail, find the money in the local budget to build it, because it does not have a federal transportation nexus. It's a local something. But we got off on this trail and started increasing those dollars with Reid and Pelosi when they had both chambers, and they were all for mass transit and urban transit and bike trails and, you know, things of that nature.